been compromised.
We're low on fuel.
I can never focus on just being evil. Card not red?
Did you pull it out rapidly?
Yes, very rapidly.
Despicable Me 4, coming out July 3rd. This is the 6th film in the Despicable Me Minions franchise. Everyone's coming back, and this one has Will Ferrell as the bad guy, or in this case, the bad woman, the villainess. They finally had a kid. Gru and his wife, played by Kristen Wiig, have had a kid, and, you know, they're good, the Minions, but, you know, Will Ferrell breaking out of jail, and he's trying to come after the Gru family. So, the way this works here is, we want to talk about what's good, what's bad, and what's the the meh of it all. So, are you a fan of the Despicable Me franchise? Is the franchise?
I was about to ask you the same thing. Have you seen all the movies? Are you all caught up?
I have, actually. When Minions, The Rise of Gru came out, I was doing written movie reviews for a website called Review Nation. Haven't been doing them the last year or so, but and I used that as the excuse to go buy all of the previous Minions movies and do a franchise ranking. So I did.
Oh wow!
And I remember watching the first Minions movie in theaters, but after that, it kind of gets a little sketchy. I didn't quite make my way out to do it. But I actually had a lot of fun with them. Some of them are good, some of them are a little slow, and but I actually like the franchise. I don't love the franchise, but I do like the franchise. What's your take on the Despicable Me franchise? Have you seen these films?
So for me, I've only seen the first two, and I actually had to go back because I knew we were going to be talking about this, and I watched the trailer for the third one, and I'm like, yeah, I haven't seen that one. So 3 I have not seen, but you know what? It did look fun, and I saw that it was voice acted by at least the villain in that movie for part 3 was Trey Parker. So is that Trey Parker from South Park? Oh my god, that's what I thought, and I was like, that's kind of I mean, they do voice work. That's what they're known for. So that's fantastic, and the trailer looked very funny. But you know, one thing that I noticed, at least with 3 and 4, the trailers, what is with all the butt stuff?
That's just sort of the for whatever reason, Illumination. And what's interesting about Illumination is that it's a French and American company. So a lot of the animation is done out of Paris. And so
I didn't know that.
You get a little bit of the part of the thing that the French people bring to the table with Illumination is the artsy fartsy kind of part of it. And so that kind of it jumps the language barrier a little bit. And with the Minions, they speak in not really a language, but it's a language of their own. So I think between the language barrier of the animators and the writers and the voice cast, I think we get kind of more of a visual sense of the visual comedy element, in terms of sight gags and everything. And along with that,
a lot of I just saw a lot of spanking. I saw a lot of there was a scene where a syringe goes into Gru's butt, and I was like, it just seems to be a focal point of at least the trailers. I don't know, and I find that humor funny. I just noticed a lot of parents were like, "What is with the butts?"
Yeah, it is. These are family films, and farts are funny. Whether you're 2 or you're 20 or 200, farts are funny. So I think when you're talking about things that are jokes that you can do that are universal, that are family friendly ish, I think that for whatever reason the butt jokes, the fart jokes, for whatever reason, Despicable Me has gone in full tilt.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't want to go off too much on a side thing on that one. I know you were asking about the movie itself, but I do plan to watch 3 now because I did really enjoy the first 2 films. I didn't watch any of the side films like Minions themselves or anything like that. I live pretty close to Universal Studios, and Minions is a ride. It's very fun there. That's a huge part of the park. But I do love this franchise, you know, in a sense of it's very fun. The characters are very lovable. I love the trio of girls that they have there. It's so funny that they have not aged like The Simpsons. They just stay the same age, right? At least that's what I'm gathering.
They have changed out the actresses playing them. Like, because when they did Despicable Me 1, all of the voice actors they hired for the girls were age appropriate, but obviously, you know, every 2-3 years, you know, kids grow up. So I think the original actresses did the first 2 films, and then since then, like, Miranda Cosgrove does one of the voices from Nickelodeon.
Right.
So obviously she's now well past being a kid, but she can still do the voice of the character pretty well. So
yeah, I like Kristen Wiig a lot as well. You know, I think the animation is fantastic. The situations are very, very fun. It's very quick cut from what I remember, at least the first 2. So you have a lot of spurts of things happening. I understand it's kind of like a 007 thing almost, where you have different foes to fight every you know, movie and with the involvement of the minions and the family dynamic, and there's an underlying message there. And I think these are fun movies for the most part. It's just, how long do you see these movies kind of going on? Because I don't really know if the Minions fandom has died down or if they should go back to just focusing on the Minions themselves. What do you think?
You know, I think Despicable Me and Minions is Illumination's first movie that they did, and it's their biggest property. So if you look at, like, Wikipedia, for example, they have several more Despicable Me and Minions movies planned out over the next several years, and obviously that's always dependent upon how well this particular film will be doing, but it's made a lot of money. So anytime a film and a franchise makes lots of money, you know, it's a little bit cynical to say, but, you know, if people love it, why not keep making it? You know, some are going to be good, some are going to be some are going to be bad.
I mean, we're getting a Megan sequel, so I mean, come on, that's I really didn't see that. I thought it would be a one-off, but okay.
Yeah, you know, but you know, Megan actually was a lot better than I thought it would. That I gave, you know, the high concept for it was actually, it
was kind of fun. Yeah,
it was the thing that I thought was funny though is I'm from Seattle originally, so the fact that the film is set in Seattle, but they shot it in New Zealand, and if you look in the exteriors, there's like palm trees. I'm like, there's no palm trees anywhere close to Seattle.
I didn't even notice. I didn't even know that. That's
yeah, so they were using some exteriors, some standard stock exteriors, and I'm like, oh, how lazy is this? But you know, I did find it funny though that they were able to recreate a Seattle Police Department car for when they were shooting down in New Zealand. So. At least they paid that attention to detail. Overall, though, I do like this franchise. I don't love it though, and it's, you know, I consider the fart jokes part of the good, but it can also be part of the bad if it gets too fart focused. Which is kind of
it can get. I like that, fart focused. It can get lazy and repetitive and stuff like that. But I understand. It seems like Steve Carell is very dedicated to this character, and that's great because sometimes it can just become too much for someone. But like you said, they're probably giving him a huge check for this, and these movies are doing well. I don't know what the last couple of movies have done financially. I'm sure they've done fantastic, but yeah, and I mean, in a world of movies not doing that well, especially this year. At least underperforming a little bit what they thought they would make. I'm not saying that they push animation to the background, but I think when they look at the flow of what's happening with major movies, like I said, that don't perform, they go, hey, let's make sure that an animation movie that's going to just grab us, you know, a bunch of money is somewhere shimmied in a summer release there. Not saying that it's, you know, on the shelf or whatever, but I mean, and these movies are very difficult to make sometimes, you know, so sometimes it is the pre-planning that can have these movies just ready on deck, you know, if something does go wrong that year.
I liked Minions: The Rise of Gru. I didn't really like Minions, the spinoff, because it was a little bit too much sight gaggy, I think. So Minions by itself, Minions 2015, the first spinoff, to me is kind of it's a soft like for me, a soft good. Minions: The Rise for Gru, because I love the whole throwback 60s, 70s kind of James Bond, trying to be a Bond villain sort of thing that young Groot was trying to get into, Gru with hair. This one,
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because with this one, Chris Renaud is back as director. He's basically, his whole career has been with Illumination, or most of his career has been with Illumination, and he was the director of Despicable Me 1 and Despicable Me 2. So Chris Renaud is back as director in Despicable Me 4. To me, that is definitely a good thing. You've seen the first two films. Yeah. Do you like the directing that was going on in Despicable Me 1 and 2?
I actually do. And now that you say that, I might want to check it out. I mean, do I have to see 3 to? I mean, I understand that they are now married, these two characters, and they have a family, because I saw that I did see that in the trailer. So I kind of know that does happen, but I did like like I said, the pacing of everything, the sequences that we got. It was very fun. So I don't know how that's going to differ too much from the third one if I do check it out, but yeah, I like the directing from the first two.
And the quality of the animation seems to have gone up quite a bit, because I think we get as movie fans, I think we get a little spoiled with Pixar. And if you look at Despicable Me 1, it came out in 2007, 2008. The animation hasn't aged particularly well, but the difference, that's a little bit unfair to compare 2008 Illumination to 2008 Pixar, because Pixar by that point had been around for over a decade. And so the fact that where Illumination is now is about where Pixar was when Despicable Me 1 came out, says volumes about the quality of the animation. And I think even just watching the trailer for this one, it's pretty amazing how much like Pixar kept the original aesthetic of Toy Story in Toy Story sequels without losing the original feel of it, but advancing the technology. I think they've done a really good job of keeping the original feel and look to the Minions and to Gru and everybody in this cast. It doesn't look different to the eye, which I think is good. That is one of my good parts of it too.
And Toy Story, real quick, Toy Story is like one of my favorite franchises as far as like animation goes. I love those movies.
What's the bad with Despicable Me, or of these trailers as you look at it? Is there anything bad that makes you go, I don't think so?
Yeah, to me, honestly, Despicable Me at this point is just meh. Like, I mean, if it's on the background, or if I see it on streamer and I'm kind of just curious, I might check it out. I don't think I'd be running out to theaters to see it, but for me, the bad would just be the repetition of, you're adding a little bit. You have more of the family dynamic. Now you actually have a son because he adopted the other three. Yeah. But even though, I mean, they are family, not by blood, but that's okay. Because you're also doing something out of the norm too. I mean, how often in animation movies do they show adoption or embrace that concept a little bit, So you are talking to maybe a minority of parents that do have children of adoption. So that's kind of a special thing that they're doing there. And I just wish that they would change it up a little bit, other than different missions at hand. Now you're going to get the whole family involved. It's going to turn into The Incredibles. I mean, at this point, it's just kind of what it is. And it's like, we've seen that already, It's like, how much more different can you get?
Yeah, it does kind of feel like they're going that route with it. And I guess when you have the supervillain thing, and it kind of lends itself to The Incredibles. I do wish that they would have stuck with Gru as a villain for longer than one film, because I like the redemption arc that they've done with him. But Gru as a villain is fun. Not that he's not fun as a hero, or or an anti-hero, or whatever you're calling him, but Gru as a villain is just sort of as a Bond villain style kind of villain. It's just hilarious the way that first film sets out in the competition between he and the other villains.
Yeah, he was pretty diabolical. He was.
Yeah, he's so good at it.
Like you said, they could have expanded on that at least for a couple of films. But I understand what they're thinking as well. They don't know how these films are going to do initially, so they probably just think, you know what, let's wrap up his story. Let's give him a redemption arc right away, because the next we don't know how. I don't think that Illumination thought that these minions would take off the way they did. You know,
well, especially because in that first film, they don't really have names or personalities; they're just sort of a horde of minions. And then, as the one good thing about Minions, the spinoff, is that we got individual minions with names and more personality. So it wasn't just little yellow creatures speaking in gibberish. They actually had more personality and more of a differentiated kind of characters for each one. So that is the one good thing that I think really came out of Minions.
Absolutely.
For me, the meh of it is, it's only been, I think, 2 years since Minions: The Rise of Gru came out, and I'm one that I like. I think the trailer for this looks good, but this could just be a good trailer, and this could be just a half-baked sequel coming out too soon, just to meet a release date. I don't think that's what it's going to be, but that's a little bit of the for me. Is the release date, the whole thing of, the writer's strike and the actor's strike last summer, kind of thinning out the summer movie lineup this summer. That would be really, really easy as a studio to go, well, we're not pushing back the release date. In fact, we're probably going to move it up because there's going to be less competition, more dollars coming in. So that to me is a little bit of the meh factor. But to me, that's not enough to keep me away from the film. I do like this franchise. I don't love the franchise. It is Illumination. It's not PIXAR. It's not quite that gold standard, but it is a good, solid silver standard for me. So, at some point, I plan on watching this film. I probably won't watch it in theaters, but it's a soft good for me. Do you have any plans to watch this film in theaters or eventually at home?
No, I think I might watch it on streamer, if anything. Yeah, once I catch up with the third one.
So I want to know what you guys think. Does Despicable Me 4 look good, bad, or just kind of Let me know in the comments section below this video. Also, are you guys planning to watch Despicable Me 4 in theaters? Let me know that in the comments section below there as well. I've been Dragon Movie Guy. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. And please be sure to click right over here. There's another video that YouTube thinks that you'll like.